Sweet. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining the NRL Deep Dive, dude. I'm so pumped you're here. If you want to introduce yourself, who you are, kind of what you do, maybe where you're located in Australia or wherever you're at, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. We'll jump straight in. Hello to all the viewers. My name is Sam. Born and raised in Campbelltown, so been very exposed to the West Tigers team and played a little bit of junior rugby here and there. Wasn't that good, but I went to it. Yeah, and I was through my young years, I always said, yeah, I'm a Tigers fan, but I was very casual. Didn't really know much about the team. And then last year, I decided, I'll jump and see who's playing. West Tigers versus Canberra Raiders at Campbelltown. I think
Oh
we all
yeah.
know how that game went. Wow, what a blowout!
Yeah.
Gave me a bit of a false sensitivity that we were gonna win the comp, but yeah, just ever since then, stuck it in through thick and thin.
That's awesome, man. That is so sick. And I mean, I must say you are supporting the best team in the NRL, in my personal opinion. Who would you say your favorite player is this year and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. I know a lot of I've listened to the past Fan Fridays, and people are very divided about it. But for me, it's I got to give it to the Teaminator, Terrell May. I've been watching a few videos about him. I had someone explain it to me very well when I told him my favorite player. He said Terrell May is the kind of player that he kind of like overwhelms you with consistency.
hmm
He just gives you 100%, gives you those long minutes, and you pair it with Fanua Bole. He's kind of like that explosiveness. Like it really works well, and I just love the energy that he brings. I watch his vlogs all the time, and he's the kind of player I really connect to on a personal level.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, Teaminator is just on another level. Like the way that he shows up week in and week out and always has a smile on his face and just loves what he does. That to me is what it means to be a Tigers fan. I'm so pumped to have his brother on, which is another divisive topic. But to have him on as a good solid center or wing, I think is only going to be, just a great thing for us. So, if you want to we've been chatting a little bit via email and whatnot, kind of about what you do. Like you're in university, correct? If you want to tell the fans and the viewers like kind of what you're studying, and then from there we can segue into what we've got planned today.
Yeah, sure thing. So, spoken with Geordie a little bit over email. I'm a third year university student, actually studying a double degree in accounting and data analytics. Um, as Geordie knows, I started watching him when He Who Shall Not Be Named during the Easter saga. We won't go into that, but I noticed that every time we have a game, Geordie looks into the stats of our game, and I thought, why not put a little bit myself into there, try and help him out with some other visualizations and graphs to help us see how the Tigers have gone over the season. And I was a little bit nervous at the time, but I felt I've learned a little bit about my university degree and the units that I've studied to try put myself out there and see if I can help the viewers better understand how the Tigers have improved over the year.
Absolutely. And I've taken a little bit of a deep dive into kind of your graphics that we'll show on the screen here in a minute. And first of all, great freaking job, dude. Like just I don't even know how to even start doing one of these, let alone how to find the data and everything. But when you put it on this visual, I'll just put it up on here now. This is the West Tigers projected points differential by the round 2025. So this to me is just so cool to see it in its entirety, right? To see it visually. So could you maybe kind of explain how this is giving us a snapshot, and maybe what do you think is like the biggest overlooked improvement to lead to this?
Yeah, sure. So, I know one of the things you wanted to look into was whether the Tigers can make the top eight, and I
Yeah.
know the two main statistics that most teams that make the top eight look into is whether they have a 30-point total. So, including the buys, which is about three buys, 6 points plus the 24, which is about 12 games. So each team would win about 12 games, give or take. And the other thing was the point difference. So how many points scored versus how many conceded should be around about that zero mark. You could give a little leeway with maybe the negative 20 to plus 20. And with that understanding, the graph doesn't look nice. We've made a big step. We've made a big step for sure with our point difference. I know last year it was like minus 220 at the end of the season. This year it's minus 80, which is wow, a very big reduction. But in terms of the standard for the top eight teams, You look at the green line right there.
Mhm.
In order for us to get that point differential above zero, we'd have to win all 8 games by a commanding amount. Which, hey, if there's still a chance, there's still a possibility to believe.
Right, exactly. That's crazy, man. So like the break kind of get up into that spot is going to be tough work for sure. Let me pull up your next one here. So with that, like what percentage do you think it's gonna be? If you know, that's all right. If you don't, that's fine too. Like what percentage are we talking of us actually making the top eight?
Uh, I had a little look, and I really don't want to break our Tigers' hearts. It's I had a little bit of help from ChatGPT about it, and said it was below 10%. But hey,
Oh,
I
it's
I
not
know
zero. It's not zero.
it's
That's
not
what you're
zero.
telling me.
And just as disclaimer, sometimes AI is wrong, so maybe he meant 100% chance. So,
Nah,
eh,
yeah,
but yeah, it is looking very slim. But I think a lot of people did say when we were up against the Roosters that we'd lose 13 plus, and look what happened. Reality can
exactly.
be a very tricky thing to unfold with statistics. So, hey, if there's still at 1%, there's still 1%.
Hey, that's it. Better than zero. So I've got your next graphic up here. So West Tigers win-loss margin comparison. Um,
This is my
it's a
favorite
lot
one.
going. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I think I understand, but for the sake of myself and some other viewers, can you kind of break it down? What's going on here?
Yeah, sure. So this graph right here just shows our progression over each round in terms of how many points we've won by and lost by. And we'll start with the 2024 season. You can see that we started, very poorly against the Raiders in round one. Had a very great win against the Sharks in round two, and then Eels in round three. But then from round three onwards, you can see that the graph kind of divots downwards towards
Yeah,
that minus 20 point, and then even that minus 40. And then we had those two wins against the Titans in Leichhardt, I believe, and then Raiders, and then kind of divots down again. So this graph tells me right here that even though we got those 4 wins, it's been very inconsistent. Like it's kind of like a surprise that the Tigers just went out of their way to win these games. And then if we look towards the blue line, which is this season, I think the one thing that the Tigers and our fans can take away from this is the consistency. We can
mm,
see that it's the same win count from round three onwards, but we noticed that once the graph divots a little bit into round five, which is when we versed the Broncos, and then we go up to when we versed the Knights, and we got that win, but not only that, by a really big margin. And you can see that graph, it kind of clusters towards that 0 point mark, which is kind of what the Tigers were aiming for. So
yeah.
even though that you even look at past the round 10, we won't talk about that, but after that, so we had the Cowboys and all those. So you can see that it's very close to the 0 point mark and very consistent. So I think the Tigers should commend themselves on how they performed, even though some of those games we could have won due to some bad calls and whatnot. I think the Tigers should be very proud of themselves about how consistent they've been. They're being very close to win games and giving Tigers fans a lot of hope and encouragement that hey, we can win these games if given a better chance.
Absolutely, dude. And that is so sick, like to see that visually, right? So, like, we all know last year was not a great year for us. There was definitely some improvement, but overall, like, it was not great. And this year, we all know that, hey, this has been a pretty solid year, despite some of our losses. But to see it visually, like you've laid out here for us, man, is so encouraging because you don't have the highs and the lows so drastically like the blue line, like the yellow line. It's more steady, right? And yeah, it's just really cool. I mean, other than round 10, that would be a pretty steady line. So that's super encouraging. That's really cool. Next up, I think I have the cumulative win tally round by round. I thought this one was super interesting. I thought this was really cool, the trajectory that it's on. If you want to kind of speak to this a little bit.
Yeah, sure. It kind of surprised me how the Tigers actually started the same way they did last year. You see the blue and the yellow line just combined together, but
Yeah.
from round six onwards, you can see that the Tigers stepped it up a level. One against the Knights, tragic loss against the Eels on Easter Monday, but we also won't talk about that because he who shall not be named, that whole
Yep.
saga.
Yep.
But that onwards, that emphatic win with the at Leichhardt of the Sharks, just how they bounced back, and then Magic Round against the Dragons as well. And I think even though there was a 6-game lose streak kind of after that, it doesn't take away about the effort that the Tigers have put in. We combined that with that last graph that we saw about the win-loss margin. We could be looking at 7, 8, 9 wins if things went our way, if a few penalties weren't against us, if the
Mhm.
ref wasn't biased, allegedly. But you can see after that Roosters game, we've already surpassed last season's wins, or I think combined. And I think with 8 rounds to go, we can definitely see that tally increasing over time.
Absolutely, man. That is such a cool visualization. Like, yeah, you don't really realize how much effort that's actually gone into this year to make us, be at this level now. And with that, you had the points scored per game and then the points conceded per game. This one was really interesting, Tigers fans, if you guys are watching. It's a little confusing at first. I had to be like, what's going on here? So maybe if you want to explain what each the red line is and what the blue box is and stuff. But this is really cool. And then when you're ready, let me know and I'll pull up the points conceded part.
Yeah, sure thing. I was contemplating whether to do a line graph, or this graph right here is called a box and whiskers graph. So it
Okay.
kind of it collaborates all the data points of the points scored into kind of like a median range. So the blue box right here, they call it the quartile. So that red line is the average. So you can think of it as like the average points scored, and then
Gotcha.
the two lines within the blue box is kind of like the where you expect the Tigers to kind of score points within that range. And then that kind of line extending from the blue box is called a whisker. So it's kind of like you could see the Tigers score points around that range, but it's not really expected of them. I believe that line all the way on the top was our points tallied against the Dragons in the Magic Round, which was 34 points, which is yeah, our highest and our lowest, obviously 0 against the
Right.
Storms. But I
Right.
think, but I think the one thing I could take away from this is I think a key word that this video is going to be about is about consistency.
Mm.
We see last year with 2024, the average was a lot lower, about that 15 to 14 point mark. But even when they scored a lot of points, like that dot all the way on the top, which is 48 against the Raiders, it's
Mm.
considered an outlier because it's outside of the range that the Tigers would have expected to score points. So,
Interesting.
so yeah, I think a key thing that we can take away from this is Tigers' attack has improved a lot. Not a lot where you can see it game to game. Like you'll look at the points and you'll think, "Wow, Tigers' attack has actually gone worse." But you know that teams improve over the year, and the fact that Tigers' attack has taken up a level is it's a great thing that we can take away from this graph.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of Tigers attack, we saw this past weekend against the Roosters, Sam, just how good we were when we came together and we had some structure, we had some shape, we had some form, but we also accepted our mentality of yo, we can do this. Like with Appy out, with Jerome out, with Bula out, we still came away with a solid win. What were your thoughts overall on that game, and how was that encouraging to see as a Tigers fan?
Um, it was great, honestly. Looking at that first half and just the intensity that we brought. I know that those first 5 minutes really gave me a heart attack when I think Tom Rodwell on the right wing with Marky Mark almost got a try,
Yeah.
but Taruva as the fullback really stepped it up. And I think just it's all about momentum. I think with these games, the first team to score a try I've noticed over the past few weeks really has that momentum in the first half, and then kind of you see it, even top teams like the Raiders and the Storms, they come out attacking in the first half and then kind of drift away in the second half, which gives lower teams a chance to fight back. But I know a lot of teams will think you'd rather be hunted than the hunter because the person being hunted has the advantage of being ahead. So I think Tigers to take some positives away from this. If we can continue that intensity in the first half, wow, we put 20 points on the Roosters with 5 minutes to go. It's crazy to think about. And Roosters, I know they've divvied a little bit, but they've been considered a top 6 team, and the Tigers just came out and put that sort of performance. Big, big, big. I'm really proud of them. Huge commemorations for that.
Absolutely, dude. You nailed that on the head. Just the way we did come out and we held our own for most of that game. We didn't see the classic Tigers slump where the second half is absolutely horrible. They're definitely a moment where we had a choice to make, and I believe with Latu, Adam Dewey stepped up. Like those guys definitely kept the team going, which also helped with our points conceded, right? And so with this graph here that you have, um, I'm assuming 2025 is good because the little blue box is lower. But yeah, how would you explain what's going on here? Into other, I can see the 60 up top. That's assuming that's the Melbourne Storm, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I think one thing when making these graphs was, gosh, I hated that Storms game. If we could get rid of that dot right there, gosh, that graph would be so much smaller, and I could talk about how consistent they were. But one thing that really surprised me was if you see the two red lines between 2024 and 2025, they're the same average.
Mm,
But the difference between the Tigers last year and the Tigers this year is that those lines extending from the blue box is way larger than the
mm.
lines in 2025. So you can see that although Tigers average looks the same, just the spread of the you would this graph is telling me that in 2024 you wouldn't know if the Tigers were going to concede 50 or 60 or going to concede 6 and score 32. Whereas with these points conceded in 2025, like you can kind of tell that, so you can expect Tigers to, only like that red line. You can expect them to only concede that amount of points, maybe a little bit less, just because of how condensed the box is.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. That is really, really awesome. Like, I like how our average has stayed the same, but the points conceded has come down. I think that is a huge testament to what Benji's doing over there in the club at the West Tigers, right? And the fact that we can keep those points down consistently, especially without our key players in this past weekend, it goes to show that we have what it takes and that we know what we can do when we actually come together and put our heads together. One thing that has stood out to me, I want to hear from you about this, is our defensive efforts, right? I feel like earlier on in the season, every game was just absolutely hitting the nail on the head. Our try line defense has been top notch. Then it kind of came the dip. I would say pretty much all around the man who shall remain nameless saga happened. That's kind of when we saw our defense lack. Obviously, Melbourne Storm in that. What were some of your thoughts on defense? And I'll throw out one of your graphics here because this one's quite an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, sure thing, Jordy. Yeah, bar a few games like the Storm and the He Shall Not Be Named Saga, I think West Tigers should be very proud about their improvements defensively. We look at this graph right here with tackle efficiency. 2025, 86.7%. That's an A plus grade right there. That's a standard, top 10, top 8 team kind of tackle efficiency. You move it to the top four, that graph should increase to 90%. And
Mm,
with the 2024, I really tried my best to try and get an average. I couldn't get the scores. So I just asked how they calculated it. And they got down to 82.2%, which it's not too bad last year. It doesn't really equate to the amount of points they conceded over the year, but you could see a 4% improvement, but massive results. You saw those last points conceded. The graph just condensed so much just by a 4% increase in tackle efficiency. So West Tigers should be very proud about the defensive efforts in their practice. But yeah, in order to try and jump into that top four, we've just got to increase that a little bit more.
right. And I'll pull up your next one here. This is the tackle breakdown. This one is one I kind of asked for is our missed tackles, our ineffective tackles. I'm loving what I'm seeing with the color black being a lot lower. Am I on the right track here? Is that what we want?
Oh, you hit the nail on the head, Jordy. This graph gets me super excited. Well, just especially with the ineffective tackles, it's almost a 50% reduction from last year.
Dang.
So these numbers, this gets me really excited as the Tiger fan. Like looking at these numbers, looking at the improvements that they made, and I just gotta give my hat off to Benji. I know he's been copying a lot lately, but
Mm,
just his defensive, he's drilling these guys to make sure that they stay disciplined, that they time their tackles, and not only are they missing less tackles, but their tackles actually they work. Like we saw
hmm.
against the Roosters game, that goal line defense against that rookie Tom Rodwell. Like not only did they shut him down, they pumped him over the sideline like Latu Fainu. And I know some people did notice that Luke Lalili at the left center was getting a bit cooked against Marky Mark, and I like Benji. I did see a comment that Benji he had the note to say, "Let's switch Latu when Marky Mark comes again," because Latu has
Mm.
that more defensive read, and things like that contribute to these graphs. So it's great that not only they have a set structure for defensive efforts, but they also can learn on the fly, saying like, "Hey, we did this earlier. They're really hurting us in that edge. Let's try something different. Let's put our halfback on the left, who a big body who can also read plays, can shut him down." And it contributes to this graph, and still a lot to improve on. It's not ranked the best in the world as much as I'd love to believe, but step in the right direction. We can really start to see the light at the end of the tunnel. That top eight can be a possibility.
Absolutely. I mean, if we keep going in this trajectory and this trend, right, we are going to see that 90%, right? Like if we keep cutting things by half or by 30%, like it's inevitable, right? Like you know data, you know trends. If we keep this going, like how many seasons do you think we'll hit that 90% on average?
Oh, put me on the spot here, Geordie. Yeah.
My bad,
uh,
mate. Just your thoughts,
all
your
good. I'd like
opinion.
to, yeah, I'd like to believe this year for sure.
Okay.
Make the top six.
Yeah.
But looking at the just the progression of the West Tigers, like I remember, even though I was a casual fan the past years, I just remember hearing about the wooden spoon and everything, and how tigers are this and that and news and whatnot. But just looking at the improvements, shed a little bit of light to our Tigers fans that, hey, even though sometimes we look at games and we think, oh wow, what was that read, what was this,
Yeah.
we've improved a lot, and the data does show that a little bit.
Definitely, and I've got this one up on the screen here too. This is another one where I was seeing those orange creamy colors, a lot of the way down, and like that's a good trend, right? The negative play.
Yeah, so where I got all these statistics from was from the NRL website, and they
Okay.
categorized all the attack, offense, defense, and I wanted to the two stats I wanted to look into was defense, which is obviously our tackle efficiency, missed tackles, and our negative play, because that negative play goes into the points conceded, because the more errors, the more penalties you concede, the more chances you're giving other teams to score points.
Mm.
So we'll start with the errors on the left. Wow. 165 from 253. Like this gets me really excited. Just looking
Yeah,
at
no
all the
kidding.
reductions, and I know a lot of people might look at this and, oh, what's going on here? And I'll tell you what's going on here. Massive reduction, great discipline, great defensive efforts from the West Tigers team. Like conceding less errors really gives you the better chance to like the goal line defense, for example. Less errors there gives you the chance to stop their attacks, to try and get out of your own goal line, and to try and start that offensive.
Absolutely, and that I mean, that's really really encouraging, Sam, to have this because I think the last few weeks, especially, Tigers fans have been hounding like the club, right? I'm part of like a lot of West Tigers Facebook pages and obviously the YouTube channel and Discord. And the amount of Tigers fans that have, thrown their arms up and said, I'm done, I'm selling my jerseys, Benji needs to be gone, Jerome Luai is just like, what the heck is going on? And so when you see this visualization of like, you know what, we're actually moving in the right direction. It might not look like it or feel like it, but we really are, and the numbers and stats are literally showing. That's encouraging. Like that there's proof in this freaking pudding, Tigers fans. So like I don't know, I can't help but get so pumped up about this because like this is amazing seeing these trends going in that direction. Now we got to finish the season, right? We have to finish the season off strong. I think touch wood, everyone. I think we can go on a 3-win streak. Yeah, exactly, 3-win streak right now. We just beat the Roosters. We're going up against the Warriors this coming weekend. I genuinely believe because I think they have Luke Metcalf out, and so that's going to be a huge thing for us to capitalize on. And we normally do all right against the Warriors. Like it's normally a pretty good game. We can normally scrape by. Obviously, we've had a few upsets, but then I believe it's the Titans after, which in theory, again, touch wood, we can absolutely flog them, right? Yeah, we can flog them. And so, and then we go into our bye. And so things are looking, it's really looking like we can actually finish off super, super strong. And so you have a graph here. Let me pull it up of our chance, of winning each remaining game for this season. And this one's super interesting. I kind of want you to speak a little bit about to this because, again, like this is all data driven. This isn't your emotion or your thoughts. This is literally what the data says about our team. And I found this super interesting. So, yeah, if you kind of want to walk us through this, Sam.
Yeah, sure. I just want to throw a disclaimer at this graph before we begin. It only I really try my best to get all the variables into it, but it really just considers the historical data, how the Tigers have performed against each team in the past, regardless of weather conditions, team list, home ground advantage. So this graph really, if you were to switch it and say the 2024 team, I'd believe it a little bit more. But this yeah, I don't I gotta yeah, as an analyst, I gotta try and stay incredibly neutral about all this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like you'll notice the game upcoming against the Warriors, we got a 25% probability. It doesn't take into account the fact that they lost their key players like Mitch Barnett, Luke Metcalf, and their fullback C&K. Games like the Panthers, same thing at Combank. We almost got against them 18-14. Just a few things like Adam Dewey's boot, which he's not to blame for that. But
Right. Those were hard kicks. Those were hard kicks.
those were very hard kicks. So this graph, if I were to give advice for it, just take it with a grain of salt. We should go to each game. If I were to change it, I'd put all of it at 100%. We're making that home. We're making that final run for sure. But looking at some of these, like you can see there are a few more obvious takes, like the Titans at Leichhardt. Come on, that's an easy 13 plus.
Oh,
We'll
easy
we'll
money.
pump 60. We're gonna put the role reversal with them at the Storms, and
Yep.
but
Yep. Yep.
like other games, like I'm looking at the Bulldogs, which I'm actually going to go to at Combank in August. Um,
Hey.
yeah, super excited. But like just looking at they're on a two-game lose streak. Lockie Galvin, regardless of where their stance is, he has rocked the boat a little bit. So you never
Mm-hmm.
know how their season might go. Even things like the Sea Eagles, which we understand that if Jerome Luai had that infection early morning, kind of rocked the boat last time.
Mm-hmm.
But we're versus them at Allianz Stadium with a much more structured, much more understanding team. So we could definitely up our chances there. Like this graph it really brings the like it really puts the idea that finals does look a little bit far away, but if you take into consideration all the variables that are in this season, especially with how tight the ladder is so far, there is a chance to believe for sure. And yeah, I'd put this at 200% for each game if I could.
Hey, I love it. I love it. And that's the thing is variables, right? Like there are definitely things like, for example, Roosters, we had 5 people out from, some were losing Talon De Silva to suspension with Mason, then obviously to injury and all of that stuff. Like that's a variable that in theory says we should not have, pushing past 20% win. We came out and we won. Like there are so many different things that, yeah, like you said, you got to take it with a grain of salt. But I genuinely believe and I feel good that we can pull off, a majority of these wins if we play hard, if we accept our unity and mentality of playing together, and if we actually go out there and have structure and form. I think the games are ours. I really do. But again, that's a big if, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts, honestly, on the remainder of the season? Like from a data stat point, but just from how you're feeling on this team.
Oh, it's really hard to put aside my my stats when I'm taking into account feelings, but gosh, I think like this is gonna break a lot of Tigers fans, but I feel like we're gonna place ninth again. I did have but I did have a look at the past few seasons that we've missed the finals a lot. But looking into our run home, we got 2 games against the Titans who are last placed. We got a Cowboys game at Leichhardt, which given that we almost had a really good comeback against them in their hometown, I could see us winning that game as well. A
Mm-hmm.
game against the Warriors with a few key players, yeah, is definitely a possibility. Sea Eagles at Allianz Stadium is another game that I believe. And I don't know if you have that graph, but I had the win tally for the possibility of making the finals. It's like that other one with the point difference, but with
yeah,
the
I'll find it. I'll find it. Win
yeah.
tally.
While you find that, I'll just
Yeah.
keep these Tigers fans' hopes up. That
So this one?
looking at there should be another one. It's the same three lines.
This one?
Uh, yeah, that one.
Cool.
So I want to talk about this graph. So we start round 18. I included the buy, the 2 points that we get from buy. So we have 18 points, and for us to make the final, regardless of our point difference, we just need to win 6 out of 8 games.
Ooh.
And taking that into account, I think a lot of these games that I've listed earlier, two Titans games, a game against the Cowboys, Eagles, the Warriors, maybe a game against the Raiders. Raiders they've been really strong, but I think
Mm-hmm.
if we can keep them like we did in Campbelltown, but just go that extra step, and then also we got the Bulldogs and I can't remember the last team, but that's 7 out of 8 games that I think is a possibility that the Tigers could win and could make that home final. I think if we get to the end of the season and we're in that 30 to 34 range, I think that ladder could shape up, especially with how tight it is. Tigers fans could have a chance to believe.
I love that, man. We can win 6 games. We can. I know we freaking can. I'm not asking to win all of them, West Tigers. Just 6. Like if we can scrape into that, I will be so freaking stoked on that.
I'll book my grand final tickets right now.
Hey, that's it. I love it. I'll fly freaking back to Australia.
Yeah,
I'll do it. I'll
I'll,
do it.
I'll pay first class for you, Jordy, to come back.
Let's do it. Let's do it. There we go. Ah, man, sweet. Well, yeah. How do you think, like, you do this for a living? So, how do you think, us fans can use data like this to actually better understand or enjoy the game? Because I found it personally really, really encouraging just to see visually like our improvement as a team. So, what's your piece of advice to us Tigers fans to really get stuck into data, to have more conversations like this and lead with more data rather than emotion?
Ooh, it's a good question. I think there's a website that I use a lot of for data. It's called tryline.com.
Okay.
And they have really good stats that show like the teams list and just like things of like which team they reckon will score first, pace probability, all those kind of things, and a scoring map that kind of shows which team attack is really good and which team's defense is not that great. And yeah, I'd really recommend that website to show a lot of um, data driven statistics. But if any aspiring Tigers fans out there want to try and do their own graphs like me, um, I did use a lot of AI tools to help with the graph making. A lot of the graphs that I made were made out of a coding program called Python. So you can actually use the tryline.com website to take screenshots of statistics, and then you can put it into AI tools like ChatGPT and ask it to make some simple graphs to see the progression of the Tigers.
That is so sick. Well, man, thanks so much for jumping on here. This has honestly been one of my favorite episodes to date because just seeing like I've said, seeing the progression and the improvement visually has been awesome. And like, yeah, dude, like big props to you for putting all this together and diving into it. I like really quick as well, which is crazy. So yeah, can people find you on social media? Do you do like one-on-one mentoring for data or anything? Like, is there anything that you want to plug or promote?
Um, not really actually. I
Yeah,
this
that's all
is
right.
kind of like this is really my first project of just putting myself out there and showcasing myself to social media. But I do follow the Discord. My Discord name is Captain 016.
Yes,
So I
sir.
have been have been commenting a little bit on there, just showing my love for the Tigers. But hey, if anyone is interested and wants me to put myself out there, I'd be more than happy to make a West Tigers themed data analytics homepage on Instagram or Discord to kind of showcase our progression as a West Tigers fan.
Dude, absolutely. And I think there's something here for us too. Like, if you wanted to jump on here more, I would love to have you part of it. If we wanted to break down games and stuff, like that would be so sick. But we'll chat about that after this recording's done. But yeah, thanks so much for jumping on. And Tigers fans, make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let Sam know that he did an amazing job. And Tigers fans, this is a great freaking day to be a Tigers fan. And you guys take care of yourself. We'll see you in the next one.
All right. Thank you very much, Geordie.
All good. All right, we'll end that.